Welcome back to Ghost Powered Entertainment. I'm your host, Kainan Becker, and today we review Anything for Jackson, currently on Shudder.
Hello, my name is Audrey, and this is my husband, Henry. We don't want to hurt you or your baby. We feel this would be the best way for you to go missing.
So Anything for Jackson is a movie I just recently discovered. A few of you guys were hitting me up after I posted my video about my top 10 of 2020, and were just letting me know a few horror movies that I might have missed, or at least that they thought should be on the list. Well, Anything for Jackson as well as Possessor were ones that were recommended by a few people, and I had heard of them a little bit throughout the year, but just hadn't been able to check them out. And so last week I was like, well, fuck it. I'm going to check out Anything for Jackson because the premise sounded kind of depressing when I read the synopsis. So that was part of why I hadn't checked it out yet. But with so many of you recommending it, I was like, okay, I got to check this movie out. Because as you know, I'm into the fun of horror. I'm not big on the really serious, depressing stuff. I will watch them and I will appreciate them, but it just isn't my favorite type of horror movie. So I went into this movie a little bit kind of like unsure of how much I would enjoy it and just really what it was going to be. As you also know, I try not to really watch trailers. I prefer to just read a simple synopsis of a movie and then go in as blind as possible, because I feel like too many times trailers these days just really demolish and ruin movies, make you feel like it's a totally different premise than what it's going to be, or give away huge spoilers and twists. So I just like to go into them cold. So I went into this completely cold. And oh my God, I enjoyed this movie so much. Seriously, guys, if you haven't seen this, make time. Go watch Anything for Jackson. It's such a fun little ride. It's very different than I expected. It gets really dark and twisted, and it has this real cultish, satanic, just real twistedness about it, right? But there's a funness to it, which is really rare to see with a movie that deals with some really serious subjects and goes into this kind of twisted reality that this couple lives in. There was still a way to have this quirky humor between the couple and just in general. So I'm not exactly sure how to explain it, but basically this movie is very twisted and very dark and creepy as fuck and has some really scary, intense moments, but yet it still has this fun quality about it. Like you're, I don't know, just experiencing this fun, creepy ride. Maybe you have to be twisted up like a lot of us horror fans to see the fun and stuff like this. I really enjoyed the story and the scripting and the pacing of this movie. And speaking of the story of this movie, another thing I got to tell you guys. So after watching it, I decided immediately, okay, this is the next movie I got to do a review on because I just enjoyed it that much. Not only was it just a fun movie and enjoyable in a lot of ways, it's also just unique. It has a very unique quality about it. But anyway, so I posted up on Facebook and I was talking to a few different people about Possessor because they were saying, hey, it should have been on your list. And I was like, well, I had put on my list before I had watched a couple movies like Possessor, and Anything for Jackson is another one. And I was telling this guy, like, hey, you need to check out Anything for Jackson. Well, then a little bit later, I noticed someone followed me on Twitter. But the name rang a bell for some reason, and so I clicked on the profile. And I saw the name Keith Cooper. And I was like, why do I recognize that name? So I clicked on his profile, and when I did, it said author, writer of Anything for Jackson. And I was floored. I was like, what? But I was like, this actually looks kind of legit. I checked out his page a little bit, and I was like, this looks a little legit. So I messaged him. I'm like, hey, are you really the author, the writer of Anything for Jackson? And he's like, yep, that's me. So I researched him a little bit more, and dude, this is the writer. I'm like, holy shit, this is fucking cool. So I got a little conversation, a little bit of back and forth going with the guy, and he seems like a really nice guy. He took the time to answer a couple questions, and I thought that was really cool, and so I wanted to share those with you. So this movie has a really interesting ending, and a lot of people have been kind of debating back and forth about this movie and the ending, because it kind of leaves you hanging a little bit. And so it can kind of, I don't know, mess with your brain trying to figure out what you think the ending means or what you think happens. And I won't give that away on what I think, because I really want you to make up your own mind and decide for yourself. And that's basically what he said. He messaged me back and said, basically, he gets that a lot. and he can't spoil the ending because he has his own ideas of what he meant by the ending, and he wants everybody to kind of come up with their own conclusions. But let me just tell you, it is a very fascinating ending, and I've gotten some people that hated the ending. Me personally, I love it because I love to think. I love movies that leave you with things up for interpretation and for you to kind of decide what you want it to be. I prefer that actually, rather than someone holding your hand and telling you exactly what this movie is supposed to make you think and feel. I'd rather it be that kind of mysterious quality and that allowing you to use your mind. I'm all about this brain and using my brain. So I found that to be a lot of fun. But I understand people that are frustrated because it did leave you with this kind of hanging, like not exactly sure what happens. So then I asked him if he had a quote or a statement of any kind on what they basically were trying to do with this movie or what they were trying to say with this movie. And this is what his reply was. We tried to make a movie about family, not scared by haunting. A movie about grief and entitlement. I'm a lifelong horror freak. My favorite ones are movies where you take away the horror. Is there still a movie there? That's what we tried to do. So I really loved that answer because to me, that's my favorite type of horror movie. And I talk about this quite often. Movies where there's cool things to look at, which this does have. And there's scares, which this does have. But, like he said in that quote, if you take away the horror, is there a story there? And to me, I love that. I love there being structure and story and something fascinating and interesting that you're left with when you watch this movie. And this was a great storyteller horror movie. So my hat, if I had a hat on, my hat would be off to you, sir, because I really appreciate what you did with this movie. So he also gave me permission to drop his Twitter handle as well as the directors. So feel free to follow them and hit those guys up. He seemed like a really nice guy who's definitely appreciates his fans and really appreciates the people that are interested in this great movie. So all around, this just was a really enjoyable horror movie. A movie that if I was to redo my top 10 would definitely be in my top 10 of 2020. So I really recommend you guys take the time to go over there on Shudder and check this movie out. I really don't think you'll be disappointed. Alright, that's going to do it for me today. Please hit that subscribe button and ding the little bell, because that's the best way to keep track of this channel and when I post videos like this. And I post videos like this at least twice every week. I also want to give a big thank you to all my patrons. You guys seriously keep me motivated all the time. And if you would like to find out more about becoming a patron, the link is down in the description. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button. And remember, horror can be fun. I will see you guys next time.
Trick or treat.